Hello and welcome to Scrap Mechanic. Now, I'm going to say up front, I love this game. I love any kind of construction game, and some of the stuff they've added in this is really clever. The art style is really nice, and this here controller, when I show you what that does, you will understand why I love this thing, because it allows you to do some crazy things. But first I want to show you a few of the weird disasters I've built before, just to show you what you can do with this crazy game. So you can go from simple stuff like a little car, pretty basic, just got simple suspension, basic steering. So this is like one of the first things you'd build. It's like a simple car, well, probably simpler than this. Most people just start off with like a little, basically like a shipping pallet with wheels attached, but does the trick. And then you can start getting a little more creative, like having sideways suspension and weird steering. Problem is with creative and experimental, tends not to always work, but that's half the fun of this game. Just make something stupid and see how quickly it destroys itself. And you notice as I was flipping over there, bits of the vehicle extending out, they're not just falling off. When they've got little sensors on them, so when they detect that it can see the ground, it knows it's not the right way up, and so it starts extending an arm to try and flip it over. See if I can make that happen. There we go. I mean, there are neater ways you can put them, but this is just like a little early experiment. It is quite clever. You've got decent selections of sensors and motors and rotors and things. Ooh. Alright, let's get off that death trap. I also built this little fun bus. Put away this. Let's go for a bit of tool. Right, the fun bus. Just a big vehicle, except this. And you can get in and out. How cool is that? You can build proper unfolding ramps and things in this. If you're trying to do this in Gary's mod, the moment these two bits got together, it would start jiggling out of control and kill you the moment you touched it. This game just, it works so nicely. I mean, obviously, it's very new, it's very early access, it doesn't have most of the content in yet, and it still bugs occasionally. Things do get a bit weird, sometimes things jiggle out of control, but the point is it happens a lot less than with any other similar construction game that has proper physics and everything in it. Everything just seems to behave. Except that, which is kind of annoying. Ooh. That's new. I used to just get stuck in the roof, which is why there's a little chair on the roof. So when I get stuck, I can then teleport into the chair. But you can build anything, like this one I've tried. I've tried to do a motorbike. Didn't work all that well, because I was making it so it leans over, but you can't control how much it leans, and the leaning doesn't actually make it turn anymore. What I did do, in order to make it work, is have these little wheels on the side that when it tilts enough, it extends them, and those turn you. Slightly. Not particularly well. As I say, it's an experiment. A failed experiment. Oh, okay, I didn't know it could still go upside down. That wasn't a design feature, it just does this. Not meant to do that. God, this is weird. Let's put it back again using this little tool. The lift. The lift is very handy. I'll show you that in a bit, once I start building some things. That's the passenger seat. That's better. Turn. I give up. And then of course you've got the really unsuccessful designs. Ones that are just really, really, really experimental. Like trying to make a flying machine. I mean, they'll get new parts in, they'll redesign things, it'll all be... They're going to get new ways to do stuff in the future, because some of the things now don't work all that well. Like, come back here. There we go. So it sort of works, but it's a bit jumpy, this design I've come up with. The problem is it uses the sensors to detect when you get close to the ground and then puts them on, but... problem with that is they've only got two states, on and off, so you can't have like... It doesn't get a little more gentle when it's at the right height, it just... off. So it tends to bounce around wildly like some sort of buckaroo and be completely uncontrollable. No, turn. No. Yeah, I'm gonna give up with this one. There's a reason I keep it stored over here with all the sensors disconnected. Otherwise it tends to escape and go mad. But it does have some clever little features on it. First off, we've got the lift. How handy is that? You can just stand on it and use it to get to higher places or to see different angles, but it's mainly useful for building vehicles. And just building vehicles, once you know what you're doing, is really easy, really intuitive. Well, of course it's intuitive once you already know what you're doing. But there's only like one or two details that are difficult to figure out by yourself, and even then, there is a very handy manual built into the game to tell you how to do it, which is nice and lays it out as simply as it can, like telling you what you'll need, what the steps are, that kind of thing, to building a basic vehicle, explaining the lifts and the bearings and the connect tools and the driver seats, thrusters, triggers, and how to use the controller. But to save time, and save you reading it, I'm going to tell you about these, or as much as I know about them. So, here we are, we've got a simple base for a car. The driver's seat and the body. Raise it up a little bit. Then what you'd need are these rotors or motors or whatever they're called, actuators, I don't know. Now they are used to make things spin. If you've not got them connected to anything, they'll just work like a hinge, basically. So as soon as I delete this, it's all just floppy. But if you do have it connected to a controller, or some sort of power source, they suddenly become very, very well behaved. You know, exactly like you wish they were in all the other games that have this kind of thing. Because a lot of these kind of similar tools in other games, they tend to twitch or wobble or drift or anything that just means they don't do quite what you want them to. Whereas in Scrap Mechanic, once they're connected up, they stay there. And as soon as you put them on this lift, they revert back to their standard default position anyway. So, no more having your car completely destroyed or ruined because... Actually, I should probably use smaller wheels. I haven't put them out enough. Stuck them out enough. There we go, let's try. Maybe keep the big wheels on the back since you don't have to turn. Go for a dragster type look. Now we're going to need an engine. There's two engines. There's the electric motor and the petrol motor. The electric motor is very powerful, and if you use this, you can adjust its speed. Now the petrol motor, that has a standard speed, so it always goes the same speed, but you can adjust the power, so it'll slowly accelerate up to speed. So basically just fiddle around and see which one you like using more. So you connect the engine to a seat, and that means when it's off this thing, you can control the engine. Now you notice as soon as I took it off the lift, it landed on these and they've turned slightly. That's because they're not connected to anything. However, if I connect them to the steering thing, boom, instantly snap into position. Exactly where they should be. And now, I have steering. Steering that's going the wrong way. But that's easily fixed. I just look at these and use the right click to reverse them. And suddenly we have perfect steering. And we do the same thing with the wheel bearings, except this time we connect them to the engine, because they'll provide the power. Well, that provides the power. And we also need to make sure these are all spinning in the right direction, otherwise we'll just spin in circles. Actually, I'll show you what that looks like, so if you see it happen, you'll know what's gone wrong. So this is what happens when you've got them connected badly, when you've got them spinning the wrong way. But you just right-click on the ones that are going the wrong way, and suddenly they're all facing the right way. Why is this not turning? Oh, there we go. Didn't have particularly good grip. See, the problem with this car I built, it's got no suspension on it, so sometimes when one of the wheels is off the ground, it doesn't get much friction. Because it's just flailing through the air, not doing. That's a simple part of the wiring tool, the things you can do with it. But it does have a darker side, a more complicated side, but more powerful and capable of doing more advanced things. Such as these. So you see here I've got a little switch, which is connected to a lot of little rotors. I'll show you them in a minute. But basically, just a door. Admittedly, a little more complicated than your average door, but still easily doable, especially in this game. Oh, and another vehicle. So the physics isn't perfect, because the doors still work more like curtains, despite the fact that they're made of metal. But it's still pretty damn good. It's still better than I'd be able to do in any of the other games. I mean, I wouldn't even dare attempt this one in Gary's mod. This. Now, believe it or not, it's not some Nazi swastika-mobile. It's my foot-powered off-roader with shoes. It's a bit bumpy, but it's quite good at climbing. But yeah, you can literally connect anything to anything else. So, any of these parts, including I-beam holders, shelving supports, tanks, air conditioning ducts, boxes, screws, a duck. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. A machine that replaces all the wheels with sinks if you felt the need. But, on a more useful front, let's show you how to do something proper using the controller. Now this is a really powerful tool, and you will learn to love it if you play this game. Because it's very powerful and very intuitive. Actually, let's choose a different material because this is really hard to look at. Here we go. Boop, plank. So the example they use is they make a door. And the door is connected at the bottom. So let's use some wood. And a door. And you notice you don't have to leave a gap at the end to get it to be able to turn. It all just works in a lot of games because it's a square thing. The moment it starts turning, this side of it would pass through this wall slightly, whereas this game just assumes that you don't want to have to bother with that because you can't bevel the edges or anything. So it just makes it work. So what you do is you connect the switch up to the controller, and then the controller to the rotor. And you see you've got a red direction and a blue direction. So I want it to open inwards. Actually no, I want it to open outwards, so that'll be in the red direction. So you grab this and you rotate it either one way or the other. Say whether you want it to go in the blue direction or 90 degrees in the red direction. I'm going to put it as 75 into the blue. Now I know I said I want it to go in the red direction, so if you've made that mistake like I have, or that I haven't, oh yeah, never mind, ignore me. But if I had made a mistake, I could always right click that and swap it round, which is always handy. So yeah, simple door. And then you can add things to the list. So I want it to do 75 one way, then 75 the other, then 75 the other way again. See, that's going a bit quick there. Let's try that. Ah, I see the problem, because it's going 75 this way, then 75 back, as opposed to 75 degrees. So if I doubled that to 150, maybe sped it up again. There we go. So we can do multiple things in a row. But that's not all. You can make it repeat. Ah, that's just repeating the same action again. So I'd need to do minus 75 here. I may have buggered that up a little. There we go, it's resetting. And now I'll just continuously repeatedly do that over and over again. But alright, let's get back to doing something more useful with this. There we go. It's all snapped back into normal mode. But in the example they did, they also put a bar across the door. No, not concrete, metal. That'll do. So it unbars the door when you want to open it. Now that just fell down, but the moment I connect this to there, it snaps back to where it should be. Back to its default start position. And you can change the default start position in here. So that make it go to 45 degrees. So it'll automatically start at that when everything's switched off. We'll put that back to normal. But what we want to happen is for this bar to open up and then the door to open outwards. Which means we want that to go 90 degrees that way, and this to go 90 degrees that way, I think. Whoa, I must have left that switched on. Ah, I left the repeat switched on. I completely ruined this demonstration, haven't I? Alright, let's just disconnect everything. Here's me talking about how easy this is to use. Because I've been fiddling with the settings beforehand. Right, basic. Right, so first things first. Minus 90 on that. 90 on that. So, what is going on here? You know what? Let's just delete this. Boop. So they didn't have this many problems when they demonstrated it. Right. Should all be back to normal again. So now, minus 90 on this again, plus 90 on this. So that's going to go 90 in the red direction, and this is going 90 in the blue direction. Yep. So now, theoretically, when I push this, there we go. But as you can see, it's really easy to fix when you bugger it up. Just reverse it again. And there. Just by making it go through each of the steps in order, you can make it do some complicated things. I mean, obviously that's not very complicated, but you can get a lot more complicated. Like, the idea is eventually you'll have like automated production lines in this game. Once they start getting the survival mode together, where you'll need to build like robotic arms that will come down and pick up crates and move them to another place, or put them in the back of a vehicle or something, which will then drive to another place, I assume. But you can do some quite clever things if you're willing to put some time into it. Like a good example is this door. To make it go, just slide up and down, because there's no hydraulics yet, what I've done is I've made some arms that... This is in the way. Actually, that's a good way to demonstrate. Let's do that. Just to pull it up and down. And this, as well, is a clever little idea I've come up with. Because in this game, unfortunately, they don't have any kind of logic gates, at least not yet. Which means if you want to make it so that the switch both inside and outside will work a door, you have to try and come up with some creative ways to do it. And I'm going to share with you the way I've come up with, which is fairly simple. Need two of them, a sensor, and your two buttons. So let's say this is my door that I want to open. Just build a simple little door here. And the controller for the door. So yeah. So, if normally what you'd have to do is you just wire that up and set that to open the door when it's switched on. But this would be on your outside of your house. How do you close the door once you're in? Well, you can't at the moment. You have to be outside the house to be able to close the door. That's not much good. And you can't connect two things up to that. It just doesn't work. It doesn't let you. So what I've come up with... Actually, I need to get up top of there. Make it a little taller. Ow, fell off. Is this thing so slippery? There we go. There we go. So what I came up with is you put a little motor up there, and then a block, and another motor, and another block, and then another block, and another block like that. Actually, maybe make it another one out. There we go. So just a simple little thing. But what you do is then you connect one of these to one of them, and the other of these to the other of them. And you make it so they each go in an opposite direction. And then you put this... It doesn't have to be 90, I suppose, but 90 is probably safest. So make each of those go 90. And then connect each of these up to your door controls. So you press 1, and that will rotate it one way. press the other, that rotates the other motor and turns it the other way. And if you press one, and that rotates it that way, and you press the other, it rotates it back again. And then, if you put a sensor there, and connect that up to your door controller, when that detects something in front of it, it'll open the door. So then you push this, and that moves that out of the way, and that closes the door again. You push this, puts it back in the way, opens the door. Like so. And you've made a simple logic gate just to open and close the door, based on the two inputs. I mean, if this were a real logic gate, this would be an XOR gate, but that's a bit complicated. More complicated than it needs to be. The only problem with this is these sensors are quite long range. They will pick up anything within 10 blocks. So, well, 10 meters. So, if you're going to make one of these gates, you have to have at least this distance empty in front of it. Because if you carried on building, say, your house, and you had a wall down here, that would... Oh, hang on. A little closer. It's not as far as I thought then. Still got a bit of leeway. You've got a lot of leeway. Hang on. Oh, that's clever. Apparently it can't detect the thing it's attached to. This game's even clever than I thought. In that case, you don't need that much space. You can build it wherever the hell you like, provided it's attached to the same building or vehicle or whatever. But yeah, so some pretty clever tools. And you can do a lot with them with a little bit of imagination. And also this world they've come up with is really nice looking. The characters are a bit wobbly, but the world itself is pretty nice. Come on, back up, there we go. But that's the thing, you come up with a little design, like a basic car, then you keep improving it by adding suspension, self-righting systems, rockets if you feel the need, but those are a bit wild at the moment, not all that easy to control. Yeah, the story behind this game, well, once it gets its survival mode, is that you've been sent out to a planet that's used for farming, and it's being farmed by automated robots that basically do all the farming for you. The problem is, once you get there, the robots are not doing as they're told. They're basically rebelling. And so you've got to try and fix things, keep yourself safe, and fix all the automated mechanisms and machinery and things that they've broken. There we go. We do all the work while you collect all the profits. So that's what the things are going to look like, or at least some of them. I've seen some of the concept art for this game, and they've got quite a few different designs. They've got some clever ideas. But that's why all the stuff you see is all sort of, all the scenery is all sort of farming-y related stuff. Permanent wheelie. But anyway, let's do some building. Just start a new game and build some random stuff. Just see what I can come up with. But I'm afraid we're going to have to leave that to the next video, otherwise we'll be here all night, because I've just looked at the footage and it is long. So, I will see you then. Bye-bye!